Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Everyday Green Home Podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser-Close, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for you and our world. Welcome to the Everyday Green Home Podcast. I am super excited today. I think I'm super excited most days, so I probably shouldn't say that all the time, but hopefully you guys know I am. But I am Marla, the Green Home Coach, and I am bringing a conversation to you today from Oklahoma City. Actually, both of us are in Oklahoma City, socially distanced because we're still in the middle of the pandemic via Zoom. So, hey, we're all living on Zoom these days. But this is J.W. Peters with Solar Power of Oklahoma. How are you today, JW?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here, excited to talk to you and share with you a little bit about solar.
That's awesome. So we actually met and we both serve on a board for the Oklahoma Renewable Energy Council. I always have to trip over these long names because there's so many acronyms. This group has been great for me since I just moved here a few years ago. It's really given me an opportunity to meet a lot of people in renewable energy and sustainability aspects. So I've really enjoyed it. How'd you get involved with this group?
Well, so I really kind of got involved almost by accident. As we were kind of setting up our company and starting to grow, I wanted to make sure that we had a voice within the community and within the state so that we could actually make sure that we were doing everything that we needed to do to be able to promote solar. For us, this was not just a cash grab. We didn't swoop in from out of state and decide that we wanted to come throw a bunch of solar on people's homes and then tuck tail and run. This is a sustainable business and industry for us. And we wanted it to be fully engaged. And we kind of thought that being involved with the Oklahoma Renewable Energy Council was one way that we could do that.
That's awesome. I've just met so many great people through it. And I was kind of concerned when I first moved here because I moved here from St. Louis, where there's a very strong sustainability community. And I thought, oh my gosh, researching online before I moved here, I'm like, I'm not finding much. What am I going to do? And I was surprised. I just started linking into a few people and they started introducing me to other people. And before I knew it, I was meeting all kinds of people. So it may not be called green and sustainability in Oklahoma, but it's there. And I still find that people want the same benefits that they get from green and sustainable practices, no matter what they call it. You see that a lot too.
We do. And that's why I love solar is because we can give somebody a way to save money, but still do it in a sustainable way. Before, it seemed like a lot of sustainable things that you did cost you more money. So you had to have kind of that passion to be able to do it. And what I love about this is it actually kind of pairs both the economics along with the environment.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. So how did you get into solar?
Totally by accident, 100% by accident. Actually, Kevin reached out to me and said, hey, I've been approached by an out-of-state company that is selling solar in Oklahoma and they need somebody to install it for them. And I'm thinking about doing this. Do you want to kind of team up and jump on board with me and do this? And I said, I think I would. I'd like that. That would be good. So went to class and learned solar and tried to figure it all out. And very quickly, we realized the people that we were installing for, that it was not going to be a long-term play. They were these out-of-state kind of pirates coming into Oklahoma, and it was a cash grab for them. They were being dishonest, and they weren't telling all the truth. And so by the time that we figured that out, we had learned how to install solar and had learned how to do it really well and really efficiently, and we fell in love with it. And so we said, hey, look, we need to make sure that we step up our game and kind of become that voice of reason for the industry here in Oklahoma. So we had never really sold anything. And so we kind of had to learn how to be able to present to people all the facts. And that's what we want to make sure that we do is we give everybody all the information so that way they can make a an educated decision about whether solar is right for them or not.
So how do people determine that? What's the biggest problem that your clients and customers face?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we are dealing with is the fact that people just don't even realize that solar is in Oklahoma, that it's viable, that it'll save you money. I mean, we're an oil and gas state, right? So
right. And we have a lot of sunshine, so you kind of would think.
We do. We're actually the 7th best state in the union for the number of sun hours that we have. So, when you look at how well a solar industry is going to produce in a state, you just look at the number of sun hours they have. And unfortunately, we're number like 48th on production.
Yeah.
But we're number anywhere from 6 to 8, depending on what report you look at, the potential for solar. So the biggest thing that we have to deal with is just people understanding that it is a viable industry, that it is a proven technology, that it really will save you money, and try to be able to kind of explain all the nuances about the rate plans and how it works with your utility and what a grid-tied system is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. People are like, well, I don't want batteries or I don't want these big panels on my roof that you run hot water through to be able to heat it up. And so there's just a lot of misinformation out there about solar. And so it's just really getting the word out that this is something that will save our customers a lot of money.
Well, and there's also, I love the fact that you come from an education stance, because understanding that we have alternatives, I think so many of us, and I honestly think in this pandemic, it's shifting how we think. And I hope it continues to shift how we think in good ways. So many times you feel like, okay, there's this system and all these things are provided. As our populations have gotten bigger and our societies have gotten more advanced, I guess that's a great word, or more complicated, we have individual roles for everything that comes into our life. So, electricity and natural gas are provided as fuels for your home, and that's that. I think we just get in this automatic pilot of thinking, I don't have any other choices. And I don't see choices, so this is what I got to deal with.
Well, and in Oklahoma, we have the Oklahoma Corporation Commission that is out there that's making sure that they have the interest of the consumers. And so your large utility companies that kind of have a foothold in with them, I mean, they've got good relationships established and they know exactly how it all works. But the thing that we really try to show to our customers is that, hey, you don't have to do it the same way that you've been doing it for the last 30 years. Like, we can show you a new way to do it that's better for the environment and that'll save you money.
So we're going to benefit ourselves.
For sure.
That's the what's in it for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to benefit the community because we're taking some strain off of the system, I guess. So you've got this benefit going to the homeowners and the community and the world. And how do you talk about that with them?
Yeah, so there was really something that came about probably about 10 to 15 years ago when they realized that, hey, you can put a solar system in and you can generate electricity. But what we were having to deal with in the early days is, hey, where do you store it? What do you do with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you would have these very expensive batteries that weren't at the time very energy efficient and they wouldn't last very long. And so they actually developed this interconnection agreement. So now when you produce solar energy, you use what you need, but then the rest of it goes back onto the grid. So you still have OG&E, PSO, all of your utility companies, but you're able to put that power back onto the grid that you've overproduced, and then you gain credits for that. It's called net metering. You gain credits, and then when the sun goes down, you're essentially using the power that you've put onto the grid when the sun's not out.
Got it. I think one of the best graphics I've ever seen that explained that was this bathtub of electricity, and then all the different production plants that make electricity within a given area would make electricity however they made it, fossil fuel plants, hydroelectric, solar, wind. I mean, here we have a lot of wind farms in Oklahoma.
Sure.
But all of those dumped into this bathtub that we all pulled from to use, and different kinds of production would put more power in at different times of the day. Mm-hmm. But that was the first time I really went, that's what this all means. Because electricity production and buying and selling is way more complicated than I ever knew.
Oh, no, it is. And some of our customers want to kind of get into all of that. But for the most part, really, what you need to know is just the fact that you get to use whatever it is that you produce with most of the utility companies here in the state. And so that allows us to be able to size our systems to not only cover your needs during the day when the sun's out, but then also at night when the sun's not out.
Gotcha. Well, hang on, folks. We'll be right back to talk more about how you get going with solar power in your own home right when we get back. Hey, this is Marla Close, the Green Home Coach, and I am the author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices for a Better Home. And in this book, besides talking about a bunch of stuff about green and sustainability products and practices you can easily take in your home, I also talk about home maintenance and how important this is to having a home that serves you rather than you serving it. Seasonal home maintenance checklists are a big part of this, and I teamed up with colleague Tina Gleisner from Home Tips for Women to use her maintenance checklist, actually included in the book, starting on page 96. And if you have the book, look them up. But I wanted to give you a brief excerpt from the book to get you excited about why home maintenance checklists, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but why they are so important. So, maintaining a home is actually a 3-part ongoing process: inspect, maintain, and update. To help you keep track of what you've done and plan to do, make notes on the checklist. First, inspect. If you've only got an hour to spare, pick one exterior side of the house or one room inside to inspect. Note the date you did this on the checklist and flag items needing maintenance or repairs so you can schedule time or make a list for your handyman or handywoman. Second, maintain. Keep your home safe, such as smoke detector batteries. Keep your home energy efficient, like furnace air filters, and prolong the useful life of many home features, like caulking bathroom tile. Write it down when you complete a task, keeps you from guessing later on. And third, update. Take advantage of improved materials and fixtures. Upgrade to new building codes and evaluate when it makes more sense to make an improvement rather than repair, such as replacing a bathroom floor rather than repairing the grout. Check out the book or give me a holler and I'll hook you up online to get the maintenance checklist for yourself. If you'd like to have the entire book, please go to livinggreenbook.com for a multitude of ways to purchase it for yourself. Thanks again. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach. Okay, so now let's do a deep dive. I love where you left off with net metering. So maybe kind of come back in on, in order to have net metering, you're attached to your electric utility, and think just kind of segueing in through there. And then let's start talking about the hows, the whats, and the whys.
That sounds good. I might even take one step kind of further back and even kind of take it to a little bit higher level, because I don't know exactly where your audience is going to be. But for the most part, solar is really simple. We have these solar panels that everybody's seen and mount them to your roof. We can put them in a field or do a ground mount system in your backyard. And essentially these panels are producing DC power. We are then inverting it into AC power, which is what powers your home. And we do that through a series of microinverters kind of back behind the solar panels. And then once we have that power, we tap into your main electric panel. At that time, you're able to use the electricity for whatever your demands are. If your air conditioner's on, if your washer's going. So you're going to use the power that you're producing, and then whatever's left over goes back through your meter. And essentially, you might have the visualization of your meter running backwards, right? It's kind of keeping all these credits of all these kilowatt hours that you're producing. It's going back onto the grid, and then you're getting credit for that. Then when the sun goes down at night, everybody comes home and you're cooking and doing laundry. Well, so you're still able to pull that power off of the grid that you had put on there, in theory, from the utility. And that's what's called net metering. And that was really what the game changer was, is because it was able to take a system and not have to have batteries. And so when you don't have to have batteries, it reduces the cost significantly. And so we really saw that trend happen about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as technology continues to get better, our modules, our solar panels, they're able to collect more electricity. Our homes are becoming more energy efficient, which is really kind of what you're looking to do, is to help people become very energy efficient. And what we do is we just give them another way to be able to get their energy and get it through a way that's definitely greener than burning fossil fuels.
Well, and it's got a future because I really kind of think in terms of future proofing, because we've got a little bit more flexibility if we're able to convert energy from the sun. And I know with this pandemic, a lot of us have reevaluated our lives and where we get things from and who we're dependent on and what kinds of things we're dependent on. And I believe there's going to be some very interesting conversations after this and they're during this as well. But I think a lot of people may see things differently. And it's going to be really interesting to track.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the fact is that we get a lot of our energy now from burning fossil fuels. And there is a finite amount of fossil fuels that we have on Earth. Now, we can continue to drill, we can continue to do those things, but at some point it's going to run out. And so we have to come up with a better way of doing this. And so, solar is, as our efficiencies have gone up with solar, as we're able to manufacture these panels to be able to produce more electricity with a smaller footprint, and then you combine that with the fact that utility rates continue to go up. Most Americans don't understand that over the last 10 years, their utility rates have gone up on average 3.4% year over year. Like that's the 10-year average across the nation. So here's for instance, if your average electric bill is $150 a month, okay, and you look at what you're spending, we always compare that to, hey, what is that bill going to be in 30 years? And the reason we use 30 years is because that's the average life of the system that we are installing. So we're saying, okay, let's compare the amount of money that you're spending. So that $150 a month in year 30 is going to be $415 a month. And so a lot of people don't realize exactly what that means. And so if you actually combine everything that you would spend between now and the end of year 30, if your average electric bill is $150 a month, you're going to spend about $94,000 on electricity. And most people it's really hard for them.
Like renting a house.
Right? It's like, you can almost buy a house for that.
I know, right?
Considering what that cost is. And so we just kind of thought, hey, look, this isn't sustainable. Like we have to find a better way. And so when solar was kind of introduced to us and we really started learning it and studying it and getting into it, we really thought that, hey, look, this is the special sauce. This is the stuff that's going to really make a change, not only for the environment, but also economically for our families that decide to go with solar.
So how do people get started? How do they engage?
People ask us all the time. They'll call in or they'll get on our Facebook page and say, how much is solar? Like, what is it going to cost me? And I love that question. And I wish that the answer was just that simple. But people have to understand how we determine how much energy you need, right? And so the first thing that we look at is we look at your consumption. So we will actually take the graph off of everybody's electric bill. It'll show you right there every month how many kilowatt hours you've consumed, right? So people will say, well, but I don't have my bill with me, but I live in a 2,100 square foot house. How much will it be? Well, here's the problem, right? So you have you and your 8 kids living in this house right next door to this nice elderly lady that keeps her air conditioning at 85 all year long.
Yeah.
Even though the house is the exact same size, built by the same builder with the same efficiencies,
behavior matters.
Your consumption footprint is going to be way different than hers. And so we have to know, what are you consuming, right? So once we determine that, once we can look at how much electricity that you are using, then we can look at your kind of physical environment and say, okay, if we can install solar panels to be able to offset that consumption through your own production, what does that look like and where can we put it, right? Are we going to put it on your roof? Are we going to put a ground mount in your backyard? Where is it going to be? Do you have any trees around your house? Because obviously shading matters on the amount of production. So the second part of that is we look at your physical environment, and we actually have this software that we can draw out your roof. It'll give us exactly what the sun hours of each of those planes of your roof are. And we'll start putting solar panels on there, and we'll get to a place to where we'll size the system to be able to produce about 70 to 85% of your yearly electrical consumption. And so then once we put those solar panels on there, we'll actually hit simulate, and it'll tell us how much electricity you will produce based on the size of that system. So then once we have the size of the system dialed in, then it's a very easy calculation to figure out what the cost of a system would be. But I laugh every time somebody jumps on social media and says, I don't want to go through, all this consultation to figure out how much we need. Here's my information. Tell me, what's it going to cost? And, those people just aren't very patient. But if we can actually sit down and look at your consumption, look at where we can install these panels and what that would look like, then we can determine what a cost would be.
So there's some companies out there that are leasing panels and there's others that are selling panels. What's the difference and how do people make that determination?
That's a really, really great question because we get that question all the time as well. So the people that are leasing solar panels, they're actually doing it from companies that have PPAs or power purchase agreements with the particular utilities in their area. So what they will do is they will find homeowners that will allow them to put solar panels on their home. They will give them a small discount on their power. Sometimes they'll just knock off a certain percentage. Sometimes they will lock the rate in for an extended amount of time, 10 years or something like that. But then essentially what it is that company that holds that power purchase agreement, they are essentially just collecting electricity and selling it back to the utility. And in Oklahoma, we're not seeing very many PPAs. Actually, we're not seeing any PPAs yet. I've heard of the beginnings of 2 areas of the state that they're looking at doing it. And mainly because the cost of electricity is higher in those places because they are further from power plants than other areas of the state. So there are no PPAs yet in the state. I think that they will be here. We already have kind of the model built once that happens for us to be able to go out and find investment and be able to do these type of PPA systems. But in that situation, you don't own the equipment. You don't get the 26% federal tax credit, which is one thing that a lot of people don't understand is right now, if you purchase a system in 2019 or 2020, golly.
Close enough.
If you purchase a system in 2020, then you are going to get a 26% federal tax credit. So that will come directly off of your tax bill. And as long as you have tax liability that's greater than what that credit is, you will receive those funds back from the federal government if you've already paid it in. So, but with the PPA, you don't actually have the interconnection agreement, which is the agreement with the utility to be able to kind of buy and sell and trade power with the utility. And they also won't get the federal tax credit.
So there's trade-offs.
Yeah, I mean, there are trade-offs. And in areas like California or Arizona or Utah, where you see much higher utility costs, that's where you're going to see those PPAs because you have people that are willing to spend the upfront capital to be able to put solar panels on people's homes and let them lease those panels so that way they can generate as much electricity as possible to sell back to the utility.
Okay. Well, hey, I got a few more questions for you, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. 5 myths of green homes are 5 things that you probably believe about green homes that may be costing you thousands of dollars. Which myth do you hear the most? Get your copy of 5 Myths at greenhomecoach.com and click on the button for 5 Myths of Green Homes. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Green Home Coach and let me know the green home myth you hear the most. I'll also share tips, products, and resources. Be sure to download your copy of 5 Myths of Green Homes now and then check back to learn more. So back on the Everyday Green Home podcast today, talking with JW about solar, and you are answering so many questions that I know I am not the only one that has. Right before break, we were talking about this lease versus purchase option. And I know that, sometimes solar seems a lot more complicated, or maybe it really is, but will you continue down that pathway of telling us, what kind of things we need to consider to make a decision in states where we have a choice? Mm-hmm. And what are some of the tools that we can use to go into that decision-making process? Yeah,
so for sure. I mean, definitely, if you have a state that a PPA is available and you've got companies that are willing to install solar panels on your home for free at no cost for you, then it definitely is an option to look at. I know that some people will choose to go that route because they feel like that they can't necessarily afford solar, right? Because I think there's a stigma that it's really expensive. And I'll be honest with you, it is fairly expensive. What people don't realize is that there are many finance programs that you can go into. For instance, one of the programs that we have, it's a 20-year, 3.99% financing. In most cases, we can put our customers in that program for at or below what they're already paying their utility company.
Wow.
So if your electric bill, which is already in your monthly budget, right? I mean, like you have to have that to kind of sustain your household. We can actually put solar panels on your home, get you to a 70 to 85% consumption replacement, and then be able to just kind of divert the funds that you're paying to the utility to be able to fulfill the note for your solar loan. And so there really are several options for people to be able to take advantage of that. I've seen loans as far out as 25 years. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going with something that long. But the other thing that's important to note, though, is all of the solar panels, the racking, the inverters, all of the equipment, for the most part, will have a 25-year warranty, manufacturer's warranty with it. So when people are talking about going with a 20-year finance program, they're like, well, man, that's a long time. What if something goes wrong? That's where the 25-year warranty comes into place. All of the solar panel manufacturers that we use, as well as the inverters and the racking, all come with a 25-year warranty.
Okay. So what happens if something happens with your roof and you have to re-roof or something? Do you just take the panels off and then put them back on?
No, that's a great question. We get that one all the time, right? Because we get people that say, well, solar panels will get destroyed, in the spring when the first hailstorm comes through. And yes, the fact is that there is a layer of glass on these solar panels to protect them. However, it's not the glass that we think about in our car or our windows. There's actually some give to that glass. So it's fairly impact resistant. And so solar panels are all designed to withstand 1-inch hail at 50-mile-an-hour winds. And that's really important to know because that is what your roof can withstand as well. So there was really no need in making solar panels any stronger than what your asphalt shingled roof would be, because if you get 1-inch hail at 50-mile-an-hour winds, it's going to destroy your roof and possibly could destroy your solar panels. In the last 3.5 years that we've been installing solar panels, though, we have not lost one single solar panel to hail.
Wow.
We have, however...
We get some massive hailstorms here.
We get some massive hailstorms. But we've actually gone out and actually had to remove 13 perfectly good systems and have the roof replaced and then us come back and reinstall that system.
Okay.
And so, people ask us all the time, well, who pays for that? Well, for the most part, if your roof is being replaced because of an insurance claim, the removal and reinstall of your solar panel systems will be covered under your insurance policy as well.
Okay. Good to know, especially in the states that get a lot of hail.
Oh, for sure. Well, and so, people, then their next question is, well, then how much is my insurance going to go up if I have solar panels on my roof? And we traditionally see about a $50 to $100 per year increase in somebody's premium. I've heard of from our customers several situations that their policies didn't change at all. But, when you're looking at how much money you will end up saving over a year, that $50 to $100 in premium is actually money well spent.
Got it. So running the numbers for each individual situation is really important.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We have to be able to look at, okay, what is your consumption? And then how much production can we get from your particular roof? Because south-facing roofs will give us the best production.
Right.
As long as there's no shading issues. But then east and west are the second best faces to be able to go on. We tend to like to go on west-facing roofs over east-facing roofs, only because if the utility were to have some type of peak demand for afternoon hours, well, if we're on the west face, we're going to have better production than if we did on the east face, when those rates can be higher.
We could do a whole nother podcast about peak load. So many things in the production and consumption of electricity that we as homeowners don't have to know, but it comes in handy when you start talking about alternative sources of power. So anyway, if y'all want to know more, then we'll get you more information.
For sure. Well, and that's the one thing that we like to do when we're in somebody's home, which obviously right now during COVID-19 pandemic, we're shut down and we're running all of our appointments over Zoom, just like this.
All right.
Now, the good news is with our software, the way that we have it, we can get a really good feel for your home and without even being there. But when we're there, we also like to look at and see if there's other energy efficiency items that you can take advantage of, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, now you're up my alley too.
Yeah, for sure. So we look at your light bulbs, right? Are you still burning incandescent light bulbs, or have you moved over to LED light bulbs? Is your attic under insulated, or has it settled and moved out in areas? Do windows and doors need to be resealed. So we not only try to size the system correctly for the homeowner, but we also try to look at any energy efficiency items that they take advantage of as well.
I may have to talk you into just taking a look at our home just out of curiosity. I don't know if it would be feasible or not, but we sure have talked about it a lot. And we don't have them yet because we didn't think we were going to stay in this house too long, but that may be changing. After this pandemic, a lot of things may change. And I think a lot of us are really looking at our homes differently because they have become so much the center of our life these last few months. And I guess we're into month 2 now. And I just hear so many conversations about people looking at their homes with new eyes.
Well, we kind of joked about it before the podcast started about how, you're seeing all big trash day. You're seeing all of these people that are purging and cleaning and doing all these home projects while they're at home. And it makes sense. But we definitely have had an uptick in people that have been calling in even during the pandemic because they've thought about solar before, and people have a lot of time to kind of sit back and kind of think about what's next and what life is going to look like afterwards.
Yeah.
And finding a way to be able to control those electric bills, but doing it in a way that's environmentally friendly is definitely a win-win.
And I think just a feeling that you know that you have some control. There's an awful lot of things in our lives that we don't have control over. So even a little tiny bit of control can make a big difference. And I'm a big advocate that every drop in the bucket counts. And do what you can, but if you can do 2 or 3 things, that's even better. If you can do 5 or 6 things, that's even better. And solar is something that I'm really hearing elevated in the conversations that people are hearing. So I'm hoping that means that you're doing a really great job educating people out there.
Well, and that's really what what my goal is to get out there and just tell people about solar and kind of give them all the facts. The people that come into your home, they're our solar advisors. They're not salespeople. They are people that are going to come and take a really good look at what you have going on, what your consumption is, be able to communicate with you accurately about what the return on investment would be, what the pros and the cons are, and then really just let you make a decision. I mean, we're all adults and we can all make our own financial decisions about what we want to do.
Yep.
But there's some companies out there that will, once they get in your home, they're going to hard sell you and pressure you until you sign the line. And I've told my guys, I said, look, and gals, that we're way above that. We're going to let the people make their own decisions, because I don't think that it's a question of when people go solar or if people go solar, but when people go solar.
I hear you. Well, you have been full of great information. I so appreciate you sharing this with our audience. And if you want to know more, we can find you if we're in the state of Oklahoma, right?
For sure. Yeah. So our website is solarpowerok.com. If you want to check us out there, or Facebook and Instagram and all the other socials that we have out there.
Please.
But I think for your people that are outside of Oklahoma, I think SEIA, which is the Solar Energy Industries Association, would be a really good start. And that's SEIA.org. They can go there and learn more about solar professionals in their area if they're interested about it.
I will post both of those links to the show notes, and that way y'all can find it easy. You don't have to transcribe it, but I so appreciate this, and I really hope we have a lot more people that get a chance to try solar out for their own homes and experience all the benefits.
There's still a lot of people, even with everything going on, that are still very interested and still moving forward. So we're able to kind of keep our guys busy, even kind of through this pandemic. So
good to hear.
We've been blessed.
Well, JW, thank you so much. And everybody out there, you have a great green day. That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home Podcast. Ready to use what you learned? Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and for leaving a review. And remember that living a little better and greener is easier than you think.